In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the common mistakes that first-year school counselors make. So keep watching to the end because I have an amazing resource that I created that'll get you 100% ready for your first year. You will have everything that you need. You want to go from confused and lost to prepared and ready for your first year. So I'm not going to just tell you what not to do throughout this video. I'm going to tell you what to do to set you up for success. My name is John, and on Counseling with Mr. B, we talk about all things school counseling. Transitioning from teaching to school counseling can be a culture shock from some. It's a completely different experience. You're going to find that you have so much time on your hands initially, especially if you've been teaching the same classrooms for a 45-minute period or all day in elementary, and then going from that to being able to have a completely open schedule. You're not going to know what to do with all of that time if you go in unprepared your first year. So I would suggest creating a daily/weekly schedule for yourself. And if you're lost and don't know how to create a schedule, don't worry, I've already got it covered for you, and I created a video for you. Watch that one after you finish watching this one. The links will be in the description below. After you've created your weekly schedule, then you want to create a yearly schedule. And I know that seems like a big task from going to a week to a year, but I've got a template for you. On this year at a glance, you're simply talking about the monthly themes that you want to go over, lesson topics, programs or events that you want to host throughout the year. And again, I've got you covered. I got a template for you. After you created this year at a glance, then you want to sit down with your admin team so that they are aware of the things that you have planned for this school year so they can get some buy-in and add input. Come back weekly for this summer new counselor series because I've got a video coming up where I show you how to have a conversation with your admin and how to create your goals for the year. Comment the word goals below if you're interested in watching this video. Don't confuse school counseling with therapy. You're going to find when you first transition into the building that you're going to have some students who have some significant needs, and they may monopolize a lot of your time if you don't set up systems of support for them. Systems of support can look like a number of things, so that's why it's important to build relationships with the people that you work with so that you can create ideas to help these students. You're not going to be able to do it all on your own. You'll learn that there are some things that you may have to refer out to other outside agencies or even support throughout your district for students. This could be students who've experienced significant trauma, mental health concerns, family crisis, or they may need resources for food, shelter, water, or even clothing. Also remember, as a school counselor, we don't give advice. We guide students through their own destiny by helping them make their own choices for things that are best for them. In other words, we give them options. Additionally, we listen without judgment, because you're going to have some students who come in and have some very unique situations going on. And if they feel comfortable talking to you, don't judge them. That's one of the quickest ways to break a relationship. So as I mentioned before, if you can, avoid seeing the same student every single day or often for individual counseling sessions. It is okay to set up time in your calendar to meet with students individually, even if it's more than once. But again, you're going to have multiple students on your caseload, and it's unfair to spend all of your time with one or two students. That's why you come up with systems of support. And if you're not familiar with that, keep watching this summer series and I'm going to walk you through it. Don't hide away in your office every single day. Be visible. If you neglect building relationships with students, staff, stakeholders, or anyone else that can help you out throughout your career, you are not going to be successful as a school counselor. I'm not saying that if you're an introvert, you're not going to be successful. If you are, there are things that you can do to be better, but you're going to have to build relationships with people. That's part of what this job is. For example, this is not my first year, but one of my goals this year is to create more opportunities for family involvement. That includes hosting more workshops and giving them more opportunities to learn how to support themselves and their students. Topics on mental health, bullying, how to pick a career, 4-year plans for 8th graders, like all things that I want to help families understand so that they can do better. One mistake that I made my first year was trying to keep everything confidential. Of course, working as a school counselor, there are going to be students who tell you things that are private and they don't want everyone to know. There are some things that you have to tell teachers in order for them to know how to support those students when they experience them having a breakdown, a panic attack, or a traumatic event. So, for example, let's say you have Susie coming in and she tells you about some things that happened in her family and she goes into great detail. You don't have to tell that teacher exactly what Susie said. In fact, I would advise that you don't. But what I would say is, hi, Miss Apple-Bottom Jeans. Susie had a bad morning, and if you notice that she's not feeling her best or she has her head down or she's crying, please send her to my office. That way you're not giving the teacher all the details and breaking confidentiality and trust, but you are keeping them in the loop so that teacher can send that student to you when they need to see you. One of the mistakes that I made my first year is I thought that I had to keep everything confidential. And teachers were really upset with me because they needed to know certain things. And sometimes I felt like they wanted to know things just to be nosy, but there are times that I felt like they needed to know things. And it was a learning experience for me where I had to have a really tough conversation with a teacher, and it didn't go very well. But it taught me a lesson about compromise and how to build or maintain relationships with teachers because I'm going to be working very closely with them. And so are you. Another mistake that first year counselors make, and even I made this mistake, is not being fully prepared for individual counseling sessions or even classroom counseling lessons. So let's start with classroom counseling lessons and being unprepared. I want you to see how this works. My first year, I had a cookie cutter curriculum that we were using, and it was fully scripted, but I would go in because it was fully scripted and I really didn't take the time to really internalize what the lesson was about. I just kind of went in and winged it. And it didn't really go well because that curriculum, although it was great, there were some things that our students really didn't connect with. And because I didn't study it and internalize it before I presented that lesson, it didn't really go well because the students didn't really receive it. So I have learned that even if I create my own lesson to go over it multiple times, think about it from the lens of, will my students connect with this piece? Do I need to rearrange some things? Do I need to include more movement breaks or some activities to kind of break up the talking points? I'm not sure if you know this, but middle school students have an attention span of between 10 and 12 minutes. So throughout your classroom counseling lesson, if you're just simply talking the entire time, you're gonna lose them and they might end up falling asleep or be disruptive. So I learned these lessons the hard way. As far as individual counseling sessions, I learned to have some resources readily available when students come in. For example, if students came in and they were upset, I had some coping skills worksheets that I can go over with them, some anger management examples and things that I could share, negative thought stopping, positive affirmations. These are the things that I would highly encourage you to go on Teachers Pay Teacher, find some free or inexpensive printables that you can have and just give your students when they come in so that you can go over those things with them together. I've found that when you're working with a student individually, talking works sometimes, but that shouldn't be your whole session with the student where you're just talking to them the entire time. They need examples. They need things that they can see and tangibly touch, or activities that you can do like role playing. So again, search online on Teachers Pay Teachers or other sites and find some free or inexpensive resources that you can print and have ready when students come to see you. Another thing you can do to prepare yourself for school counseling lessons is to record yourself presenting the lesson and go back and watch that video and see if you felt confident and if you were really relaying what you wanted to say. Another thing that I would highly suggest you avoid is spending way too much of your own money on supplies, office things, and resources at the beginning of the year. You don't even know what your students want to learn or what they need to learn because you haven't sent out a needs assessment yet. And so I wouldn't suggest going and buying a whole bunch of things at first. Also, you may even have a budget at your school, so talk to your school leader and they may give you supplies such as staplers and pencil sharpeners and things for your office. They may even give you a budget to buy decorations. I've been in a school where they gave me a specific amount of money for my office, and that was really amazing because I didn't have to go in my own pocket and buy things. I also mentioned going on sites like Teachers Pay Teachers and finding some free resources that you can have for a rolling cart that you can keep in your office for students when they come in. Another site that you can go for free resources is copingskillsforkids.com. You can get some deep breathing printables and they are really amazing, and I still use these to this day. If you haven't already, join my newsletter and you'll get a free resource that you can use for school-wide interventions. The link is right here and it's in the description section. Also, when you join this mailing list, you'll be updated when I share new videos, resources, or ideas to help you throughout your career as a school counselor. If you want to know some of the things that you need as far as office supplies, I have another video on the screen. Watch that one after you watch this one, and I show you where you can buy resources for your office and where you can buy them inexpensively. One final mistake that news counselors make is being overconfident and being afraid to ask for help. When you're in this role, there is no instruction manual. Even though I'm creating videos to help you so that you can avoid some pitfalls, there are some things and experiences that you're going to learn on the job that you would never learn in grad school. And so I would suggest that you ask as many questions as you feel comfortable asking. Build your network of support, especially on your campus. Get familiar with your admin team, your school secretary, your attendance clerk, the school nurse, the maintenance crew, everybody on your campus. Start talking to them and build a relationship with them so that they can support you when you need it. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel silly. You have to ask questions. And sometimes you may have to ask the same question more than once. It's okay. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. But unless you ask questions and learn from those mistakes, you're going to continue to make the same ones over and over again. In other words, don't suffer in silence. Don't feel like there is any question that is too stupid or silly, because you need to learn. And if you don't feel comfortable asking people in your building, then join Facebook groups. There are so many other counselors that you can reach out to and ask for ideas or resources or support. And if you weren't assigned a mentor to help you transition through your first school year, again, a great idea is to reach out and find somebody in your school or neighboring school district that's another counselor. I also have a Facebook group where you can network, ask questions, and get ideas. It's called the Learning Lab, and you can join it by going to the link in the description section. Comment below, what was your favorite tip from watching this video? Now let me tell you about this amazing resource that I've created for first-year school counselors that will help you be 100% ready. Get your copy of the new School Counselor's Guide, 5 Essential Tips for Success. When you download your copy, you'll get a free template that you can edit for a Meet the Counselor lesson that you can share with students, where you can explain your role to staff in the building or even families. You'll also get a goal-setting template that will guide you through the process of creating your program goals for the year. You'll get a few copies of an editable newsletter template that you can send out monthly to talk about your school counseling program. You can share these with staff or families to show them what you do on your campus. You'll also get a copy of a yearly program planning template so you can plan out your comprehensive school counseling program and present it to your admin team. You'll get some icebreaker templates of some questions that you can ask students so you can get to know them better. And you get tons of advice and helpful tips to help you be successful in your first year as a school counselor. Get your copy by going to CounselingwithMrB.com. In the meantime, after watching this video, watch this video on the screen, things that I wish that I knew as a first-year counselor.